What's good, everybody? Welcome to Outside the Playbook. We're going to be looking at some comments that were made by Pablo Torre. If you don't know who that is, he is the one who broke the report about Steve Ballmer, Kawhi Leonard, and aspiration. And I think Kawhi Leonard is cooked, but we're gonna let Pablo Torre tell you that.
I'm tired of being humble. I'm tired of letting people think they got a chance. This is my show. This is my camera. I run it all.
All right, let's get to it.
Let's move to the continuing drama of Kawhi Leonard, Steve Ballmer, and the Clippers. On some podcast called Pablo Torre Finds Out, I've never heard of it, there has been reporting that indicates Steve Ballmer may have circumvented the salary cap with Kawhi Leonard and a company called Aspiration with ties to the Clippers. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver at first said he'd never heard of Aspiration, then he backtracked. He has said the NBA will investigate. Pablo, in what sort of a spot does this Ballmer investigation put Silver?
I believe this is the biggest test of Adam Silver's tenure as commissioner. And I say that knowing that there are other candidates, but...
Just for clarification, he did not say he never heard of it. Okay? He did not. He just didn't know about this. He heard of it, hadn't looked into Aspiration and all that, because they had to clear with the league about Aspiration being the arena sponsor for the Clippers. But he said, he backtracked and said, it's not that I ain't heard about him, I just didn't know about this.
He came in with Donald Sterling. That was, in retrospect, an easy call. Documentary evidence, a tape. In 3 days, they said, banned for life. This, poetically almost bookending that, Ballmer coming in because of that, Ballmer now being at the heart of a story, Tony, in which he poured in $118 million over 18 months, tracking alongside secret payments no one knew about to Kawhi Leonard that total $28 million in a no-show endorsement contract and $20 million more in a stock deal that he was signed to. We're talking about $48 million outside of the cap, paid by the richest owner in all of sports. And so the question for Adam Silver, to be blunt about this, is, do the rules matter? You're a steward of integrity. The inconsistency of commentary around what you knew, and in honor of Robert Redford this week, what did you know and when did you know it? That question applies to the commissioner in terms of how he himself has been presented, as well as the investigation, which has taken, for me, many sources and 3,000 pages of documents.
Now, in response to that, I'll say this. The commissioner, he's in a tight spot. But this is going to expose the other 29 owners. This ain't about the commissioner. The commissioner, he's gonna have to drop the hammer on the rules and all that other stuff and put the stamp on the investigation. This is what we're gonna do going forward. But the other owners also have a say. The other owners have a say. If they want to punish the wealthiest owner that's in their group, they actually need him. A little more credibility, a little more wisdom, been there, done that. He isn't one of the 5 or 6 richest men in the world for no reason. He has things up here and here that benefits everybody. So if all 29 screw him over, all that goes away. All that walks right out the door. So this is going to be a situation where either you finesse it, slap on the wrist, or you really drop the hammer. And him dropping the hammer is going to hurt everybody. Not just Steve Ballmer. Another aspect to this is, like I said, I think Kawhi Leonard is cooked. But this is the comments that was made by somebody who's actually reporting on the situation inside the Clippers organization.
Baxter, really, you detail in your story that this isn't the first time that the league has had questions about Kawhi Leonard, about his health, about his business dealings. But this one with Aspiration, it is a little bit different. Why?
Yeah, certainly. A former Clippers staffer pointed out to me quite clearly that this is the first thing that they've dealt with that calls into the character of the owner, Steve Ballmer. Now, they've dealt with lawsuits, they've dealt with fines, they've dealt with other NBA investigations, but this is different because it goes all the way to the top of the organization. And then also, if you consider that the allegation of circumventing the cap, that's considered like, a cardinal sin of the NBA. It's different than not being maybe transparent on injury reports or things like that. So that's how it's different.
So there's a lot in your story, but I think the crux maybe that viewers need to know is there are several sources, and you interview more than 24, who point to the fact that it may be time for, as they say, the Clippers to get out of the Kawhi business. That's what they said to you. Why?
Yeah, they can make that case. They can say, hey, it's time for us to move on from Kawhi Leonard. Hasn't, resulted in anything fruitful. No championships, only headaches. Gave all this up. All this behind the back dealings with aspiration. All this, going back and forth with Uncle Dennis. All the injuries, all the sitting out. All of that to have no championships. Nothing. Nothing to show for all this. You went through all of this trouble, and you don't even have an NBA Finals appearance. What are we doing this for at this point? And then the follow-up question is, if you want to get rid of Kawhi, where are you going to send him? Who's going to take that on? Nobody wants this right now. We don't even know if he's healthy. And then you add all of this and an ongoing investigation and stuff like that. Malik Beasley's been investigated for several months. Terry Rozier for several months over allegations regarding, betting on games and stuff like that. Nobody's touched them. Malik Beasley did not get touched. He was in line to make a deal with the Detroit Pistons for 3 years, $42 million, I think. That was the deal that was on the table. Nothing. Terry Rozier was involved in discussion after discussion to be traded. Nothing. Now, that might be a different situation considering the fact that Scary Terry is no longer scary and he's just Terry terrorizing them. Not going to get into that. But you see the point that I'm trying to make, all right? If you don't think that Kawhi Leonard is cooked going forward in his career, you're blind. Absolutely blind. But how they get off of him, how do they get out of this contract, it might depend on Steve Ballmer. Because guess what? If Steve Ballmer gets nixed, they can take a look at that Kawhi contract. I've seen some things floating around about them reversing all of the things going back to 2019. I'm not going to dive into that. But if they look back and say, you know what? It might be better for us if we just completely cut ties with Kawhi, nix that deal, get him out of here. We might not ever see Kawhi again because if you think about it, Defensive Player of the Year multiple times, Finals MVP, 2 championships. Does he even really need to hoop anymore? I think the only thing he's focused on is getting his money and going away. That's all he cares about. So guess what? Whether you want to give him his money and go away or just void the whole contract because all of this nonsense, there's a lot of cards on the table.
Where do things stand now?
Well, look, the Clippers are optimistic that if he can stay healthy, they're excited about the coming season. But taking a step back, if you consider the huge investment that they made in him in the beginning, which has helped Oklahoma City build the dynasty in many ways. If you consider how many games that he's missed, if you consider all of the off-court issues and drama, the current ongoing investigation that's playing out right now. A former staffer said to me, it's at some point Steve has to get out of the Kawhi Leonard business. Now he's under contract for 2 more seasons, at the end of which he'd be 36. Obviously, he has extensive mileage and injury history. I don't know what happens to him after that point. People I talked to do said they expect him to play through this current contract. Beyond that, no one's quite sure.
Well, and when you think about the last time we saw Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers on the court, it was really exciting, I think, to see for a lot of Clippers fans, which makes this all the more complicated as the organization.
When Kawhi is healthy, and I've said this a number of times. When Kawhi is healthy and he steps on the court for the first time after missing maybe 20 games, right? It don't look like Kawhi missed 20 games. It looked like he played 20 straight games because there's a chance he goes for 30 that night. That's how crazy good he is. It makes no sense. Like, I've never seen anybody come back from an injury and step on the court and it looks like they've never missed time. Not, get into a rhythm, knock down a couple shots, and then the next game, return to normal. Now they got to work back. No. Kawhi's getting 25 the night he comes back. That's what it looks like. So, yeah, if he's healthy, he can put on a good show for them. They're going to be in the playoffs. But you made an interesting move when you traded Norman Powell away for nothing. But on paper, this team looks legit. On paper. But again, we're always going to say, but if Kawhi is healthy, let me know in the comments. Get this video a like, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments. Do you think that Kawhi Leonard's career, not just for the LA Clippers, but in the NBA in general, is going to be cooked at the end of this investigation? That's one more for the good guys.